listening to the Cosmic Celebrity Podcast, where spiritually gifted persons receive information and tips on awakening their consciousness to develop and integrate their abilities in their daily life through spiritual growth. Here's your host, Athena Lucene.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Cosmic Celebrity Podcast here at athenalucene.com. My intention for this podcast is to do things in a very deliberate way so that I can kind of get in alignment with the energy of the day. And so I'm very intentional about not planning or scripting the Cosmic Celebrity Podcast. And I kind of go with the synchronicity and the flow of the energy of the day. And then from there, allow the inspiration and the guidance to cover whatever topic and offer whatever tips for the spiritually gifted that I think that they can benefit from the most based on the energy of the day. And so today's episode, I'll be sharing some tips with you on how to cope or how to overcome the challenge as a spiritually gifted person when others just don't get you, right? When others don't understand you, or, there's that feeling of unrelatability, right? How to overcome that and how to cope with that. And so you'll also receive divine downloads and energy healing that will naturally realign your vibrational frequency to your unique energy signature, which is your soul essence that is having a physical expression as a cosmic celebrity as you stand into your divine purpose in your life. And so if you are sharing with others, like maybe a friend or someone that you're comfortable sharing maybe an aspect of your spiritual giftedness or something interesting and fascinating that happened to you. Like, for instance, if you had a dream, right? If you tend to have dreams and then the, dreams that you have turn out to be premonitionary and the things you dream actually ends up happening. And so, for instance, if you're sharing, that you had a dream with someone, or have you ever had a dream and, what you dream actually happens, and then the person turns around to you and say, the most unexpected thing, right? So here you are, you're excited, you're kind of in the state of trying to explain the dream and the phenomena of having a dream. And then, that thing that you dream actually happens, right? And then the person turns around and say to you, oh, I don't even dream. There's nothing I think more bubble bursting than that. Or, if you're experiencing your abilities in another way where, you're trying to make sense of it because you're at the level of your consciousness where you don't quite understand the deeper spiritual insight and layers behind your abilities. And, as you know, or I should say, spiritual giftedness is unique for everyone. And so no one person experiences their spiritually giftedness in the same way. So there's kind of that unique navigation through spiritual growth that's needing to happen for each spiritually gifted person, because there's going to be unique variations of even the same spiritual ability. You might experience kind of a sense of knowing because you can, for instance, kind of just have a knowing about a situation, right? Your strong intuition or discernment about a situation. And then perhaps someone else might see a vision about the same type of information that's coming or the same type of download that's coming, but one person might experience it auditorially versus another person that kind of just has a gut feeling knowing. Gosh, I'm not pronunciating today, but hang in there with me. So the idea is if you're sharing this with a friend or someone in your own attempt to kind of understand what's happening to you and just to kind of see or gauge someone else's experience of their reality to see if is this happening to other people? Does this happen to you? And kind of when they say no, and then they kind of look at you with that weird look no, I don't know what you mean. And are you okay? That kind of look. But the idea is this. I'd like to offer you some spiritual insights that's going to, allow you to feel all right with you, even in the instances when you're sharing this aspect of yourself with others particularly who are not spiritually gifted as well. Because, when you're sharing things like this with other spiritually gifted persons, oh my goodness, it's a whole different type of conversation. I mean, like you guys are finishing each other's words. There's like this excitement, like, oh my goodness, that happens to you too. Like, yeah. And then there's like this comparative, like, well, the way I sense this perception or ability is this way or that way. And then it kind of like there's this excitement, right? But unfortunately, most times or more times than not, than less preferred, oftentimes spiritually gifted persons are often surrounded, in my experience, by other persons who are not spiritually gifted. And so that kind of leads to this kind of like isolating feeling of loneliness or a feeling of, oh my goodness, I feel like I can't relate to others around me, or, there's this unrelatability. And then you kind of like get to the state where you're like, well, you don't even know what to make of it, right? You don't know if something is wrong with you. You don't know why it is. Like there's a lot of confusion, lack of clarity about why you're experiencing your reality one way that is, actually very powerful, in a powerful way that others around you don't seem to be experiencing their reality like that. And so if you continue that way, you will eventually start to believe that you're like the weirdo, right? Quote unquote, in a negative connotative way. And so essentially, if you're sharing this experience with other persons and they just don't get you, the first thing I'd like to offer you most definitely is that please be aware that everyone is on a different level in their spiritual journey. We're all on the same journey to the same destination. However, the path to getting there and where you are on that path is very different from where others are. And so you having extrasensory perception abilities, that speaks to a higher level of consciousness, right? A more mature level of spiritual insight. And so if you're sharing that aspect of you with someone else, for instance, who is not as awakened or not as evolved or not as further along on the journey, they're not going to understand what it is to dream the future, and, because they don't dream at all, right? And so I think the bottom line is what you need to know and what you need to be comforted by is that there's no way that they're going to be able to understand what you're saying, because they just haven't arrived to that level of awakening as yet. And it's not right or wrong, superior or inferior. It's literally, there's like an animation and kind of like this diversification and, kind of like this unique journey, or this, everyone is at a different place at any given time on their spiritual journey, which we all are on, by the way, whether or not we're aware of it consciously or not. And so the idea is when there's someone that's not understanding, or there's a sense of unrelatability, your takeaway should still be that you're okay. Still be okay with you. Because at the end of the day, just because they're not able to perceive the things that you're able to perceive because of your spiritual insight through your giftedness, there's no need to feel or to worry that something is wrong with you, or that you're not enough in any kind of way, or that you don't fit in, right? Because ultimately you weren't meant to fit in. You weren't meant to fit in. You're supernatural. Your giftedness allows you to have a deeper insight, a deeper scope, a different understanding once you develop your abilities. This is why it's very important to develop your abilities so that you can understand them more, become more familiar with them and discover how to integrate them in your daily life, and to actually allow them to be the blessing and the tool for you to navigate through your physical life experience. And so the idea is just be okay that everyone is at a different level of the journey, and that's okay. It's all good, right? All the paths, all the unique paths and variations of the spiritual journey back to the universal oneness and universal love. And so just be okay and know that others are not going to understand you all the time. And then if you are experiencing persons who are less than tactful or kind in response to, when you share or when you try to explain certain things that you're experiencing, if you're triggering frustration and annoyance and anger from them, and if they're acting on it, I would say to you that it just speaks to their level of disconnection within themselves, their divine spark within them. And so, I would say that if they're not open-minded, or if they are treating you in a way that is not nourishing to your divinity, or not harmonious and respectful towards you, simply because of the differences between you, you might want to investigate and ask yourself, why would you be friends or would be around such a person in that event anyway. But I would definitely say that if they're not connected with themselves, then how can they be connected with you? How can they be relatable with you, like truly relatable with you when they're not with themselves? And so I would say that get to the level through your self-love, through your acceptance of your own unique divine spark within you, and through your giftedness, get in that realm, get in the magical flow of just being at ease and being at peace, embracing inner harmony within yourself, so that when these moments happen, actually like what will happen is a shift will actually happen where you're no longer looking for external validation or approval of others, or, others getting you or anything like that, because you've done the work through spiritual growth. You've done the work. You've done the inner work to accept who you are, to embrace who you are, to celebrate your giftedness. And there are times when it's uncomfortable, absolutely, no doubt. But the idea is to have the courage and the determination, the intrinsic determination to continue growing and evolving and applying and discovering different ways to apply spirituality in your life, so that you can exercise your spiritual muscle in various circumstances, so that overall you over time evolve and progress and become a better person and a greater aligned expression of the divine, the divinity within you. So whatever that non-physical essence is, that, whatever that name is that you feel comfortable to describe that non-physical life-giving life energy essence, whether it's the universe or source or the Most High, the Heavenly Father, whatever the word is or the language is for you that you feel safe to use. The bottom line is, there's this non-physical essence that is a present consciousness that is aware of all that is, and that is orchestrating everything, all the synchronizations, all the desires of everyone, and aligning it and holding that vibrational frequency for everything that it is that you're desiring and that you are essentially intending through a co-creation with this non-physical essence. And so the idea is, when a person doesn't get you, and when they are maybe not so kind to you or behaving in a less than preferred way towards you, it's actually an opportunity for you to reflect and go within and ask more profound transformational questions, such as, how can I perceive this experience in a different way, in a more preferred experience? How can I love and accept and be myself more? How can I be enough for me? How can I get more self-confidence or get more comfortability with who I am, my unique spark, the unique spark of the divine that I am? And so through your commitment to spiritual growth, understand that all is well. All is progressive and forward moving and perfecting and part of a cosmic evolution. When you can get to that, arrive to that place within you where you realize that you're on a co-creative dance with the non-physical higher consciousness, or, the creator of the universe, when you get to understand that you're in a co-creative dance where your true work is to be present with you and present with your own evolution and present with the discovering more about you and who you are and your divine energy signature and how that's meant to translate into a purposeful life, and, how you can embrace and learn about yourself more and be an expression of the divine more in your life. And, it could be just as simple as being present with your children, or being present with your spouse, or sharing a smile, or just being available in the moments in your daily life for like connection, even if it's with a stranger. It's like your life awakening in a more meaningful and present way, because you're able to kind of get in a more syncopated flow where you're able to see the co-creation. It could be like a thought that you're having, or you're driving on the highway or something like that. And, maybe you're praying, or maybe you're kind of like in this conversation, this co-creating dance with the divine. And, like you think something, or you think a thought, or you might ask, like, how can I learn more about me and expand more and develop my abilities and become more tuned with you and become more intuitive? And then it's like, you drive by a billboard, and then there's like something that is written on the billboard that's actually aligned with the conversation you're having with the creator, or, like in the prayer, like in the words that you're saying with the creator, kind of like those moments of confirmation that, there is a non-physical realm that is simultaneously occurring with the physical realm. And through your spiritual abilities, you're able to harmonize and have a balanced perspective or balanced kind of like information from the non-physical and the physical realm. And so when you are able to do this and kind of like get in this dance with yourself and connect more strongly with your inner being or your soul that is connected to the divine, you kind of like, ask the more explorative questions of how it is. And once you get more into that flow, you get to understand more of how you are meant to express in your life, the higher vibrations of peace of mind and well-being, expressions of those types of higher vibrational frequency emotions, love, joy, happiness, peace, passion, and expressed purpose. And so as you get in this kind of magical realm with yourself or your soul, your inner being, your inner spirit, others, they experience the radiating and expanded love and light consciousness that you're emanating. They're attracted to it. You find that, once you get centered and be center stage in your own life and present with your own spiritual growth and evolution, you kind of just have this natural attractive energy, right? That others, they end up wanting to be around you. They are inspired by you and they may not even understand on a conscious level what's happening. However, but they know that they're enjoying the experience of being around you, or, there's kind of like a lightheartedness that overcomes the environment when you're really connected and attuned with your inner spirit in this way. And so it's kind of like you giving permission to others to accept your differences. And even if they don't understand you or can't really relate to you, there's kind of still like this harmony between you and kind of like this mutual respect that, I may not be able to understand what you're saying, but, I accept that that's how you're experiencing yourself and, it's all good. And I think the challenge is, can you surround yourself in healthy, nourishing environments where persons actually support you? And even if they don't get you or understand, I think that there are still persons out there who are further along on the journey where even if they don't have spiritual abilities, they're able to rise to the occasion and kind of like be their highest version of themselves in a relationship with you, whether it's a friendship or some other kind of relationship. And it's like there's an animation, there's a diversity in life that gives things a bit more interesting edge, right? So I think that even though persons are on different levels or stages of the journey, there's value in that, because then there's kind of like healthy challenges that arises from that brings opportunities to grow spiritually. And it gives you opportunities to develop your abilities or notice something about yourself that you hadn't noticed before. And so I strongly encourage you to be deliberate about your boundaries and who it is that you allow to be around you. And, try to cultivate harmonious relationships with persons who, even if they don't get you, even if they don't understand you, you and them are still able to have a mutually respectful, harmonious relationship where you enjoy other aspects of yourselves that are pleasurable for you both and happy. And it's a defining moment when you can make a decision, and what I actually want you to do right now is just close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and literally take a decision. Declare and take a decision that no matter who you come along with in your journey that don't get you or don't understand you, you make a promise to yourself, or you reaffirm your promise to yourself, that promise your soul made to the divine, the divinity, the non-physical essence, the non-physical consciousness, the creator of the universe, that you're going to be okay with you and understand that you're on a journey, and that, even though you don't understand all aspects of yourself, or you may not have fully developed in your abilities, you understand enough to know that you're okay. You can never be wrong. You're a masterpiece of the divine and you're beautiful, just as you are. And so when you are able to embrace who you are, which your abilities, your spiritual giftedness is a huge part of who you are. And when you accept this, if you suppress it, if you don't develop it, if you don't allow it to blossom, you're very much denying a very big aspect of who you are. And so if you are not allowing yourself to develop your abilities, if you're not willing to do the work to go through the process or grow with the process and actually go within and be willing to discover aspects of yourself that just kind of like learning more and more about yourself and learning more and more about the unique ways you're experiencing your abilities. If you're not able or willing to do that, then, when others don't approve of you or validate you or, are not relatable to you, you're always going to be affected by that. But when you are aligned and when you are committed to your spiritual growth and when you are literally excited about you, like be excited about you, if someone's not excited about themselves, they can't possibly be excited about you. And so the idea is to be excited about you, get in the habit of focusing your mind and fostering a spiritual mindset so that you can see positivity and the good within yourself and the good within all others, and just be present with your experiences, be present throughout your day, and, do the inner work to implement these spiritual practices so that you can release the fear, shame, self-doubt, and judgment around yourself and with others, but particularly as it relates to your abilities. So I would definitely say this is one of the topics that I come across the most, that spiritually gifted persons struggle with the most, because it creates a very big emotional bondage for them, an emotional feedback loop, because they themselves don't understand a lot of times what's happening spiritually to them. And then, to try to have a conversation with someone else or other persons and trying to describe what's happening. And it's kind of like, not finding that relatability or that validation that, that happens, that's occurring to other persons around them. That can be very lonely and very discouraging. And that certainly can affect a person's self-esteem. And then as that continues, it's kind of like a downward spiral. The more a spiritually gifted person is trying to have a conversation with and connect and share this aspect of themselves. And then, it's kind of like, nah, there's no validation, that others are experiencing their reality in the same way. It can be a very isolating thing that can lead to that person's own emotional bondage, right? Where now they start shaming themselves. Now they start thinking, they're not good enough, or that there's something wrong with them, or that, they're off, or that they're, like I said, weird, in a negative way, weird as in with a negative connotation, which I shared on the last podcast, that weird actually literally means supernatural. And so the supernaturality of your abilities, the supernaturality of you, that's a very big essence of who you are. So embrace your weirdness. And, I say, start taking the steps towards the journey of self-love, self-discovery, self-confidence. And again, promise yourself, reaffirm, because your spirit, your soul has already made that promise to the creator of the universe that, no matter what, that you're going to stand purposefully in a fulfilling way that you're meant to in your life. And so when you can give yourself the permission to be yourself, accept yourself, all aspects of yourself, you subconsciously give other persons permission to also do that. And it's a very funny thing that when you start getting, focused and centered in your own growth and in your own progress and forward movement and, developing yourself and allowing more love and light to radiate through you, higher conscious love and light to radiate through you, it's the ultimate attraction factor, right? Your energy becomes just so magnificent that others always want to be around you. There's always kind of a mystical glow around you, a mystical force around you, where it's persons just naturally, want to be around you. And the fact that your spiritually giftedness allows you this stronger connection and this stronger intuitive knowing, or intuitive insight, spiritual insight, where you can tap into this more effortlessly and, stay there more times than not in that syncopated flow. That is the ultimate intended use of your spiritual giftedness, is to be able to use it as a life tool so that you can navigate through your life in a more meaningful way, avoiding suffrage, because you're not meant to suffer. No one's meant to come here and suffer, but your spiritual gifts are the tools, the very tools that you've been gifted with so that you can navigate through life in a more meaningful way while being a blessing to others, and, using them as a blessing to others simply by radiating your love and light consciousness, because you have access to this higher connection, right? Kind of like you're like a vessel for expanded love and light consciousness. So I would definitely encourage you. And I am actually in the process of creating the Art of Being Spiritually Gifted program right now. And, as I said before, this is one of the main topics that we'll definitely be addressing. It's one thing to know something intellectually, but when you know it emotionally, when you know something emotionally, and you're able to stand in the firmness of that emotional strength and emotional maturity, You are able to be unmoved even when other persons don't get you, or, when they behave in an unkind way towards you, or when you just don't receive the feedback from other persons that you're looking for. When you can understand something on an emotional level, which is what the program is about, like how to tap into that emotional maturity through the application of spiritual practices and through deliberate inner work that allows you to open up your consciousness and allow a more integrated, balanced experience of your spiritual giftedness. This frees you from the emotional bondage or the psychological bondage that can come as a life challenge of a spiritually gifted individual. So I'm really looking forward to that. And, ultimately, just a quick recap. If there's others out there that don't get you, just understand that, first of all, there's more than likely a level of disconnection within themselves where they don't even get themselves. And so in that, how can they truly get you? This is more particularly for the persons who are actually unkind to you or are sharing really mean words and being mean-spirited towards you when you're sharing these types of abilities. There's a level of disconnection with themselves more than likely, and they're just not at the level of consciousness where they can even begin to kind of understand like the miracle or the magical realm of the non-physical. And so just don't take it personally, and then just remember that others are also at different levels of the spiritual journey and the spiritual process and the evolutionary process. So don't take it personal. If someone is not at a certain level of awakened consciousness, then there's no way that they're going to be capable of even understanding you. So don't take it personal. Kind of like just sit with it and allow yourself to be guided and soothed with the intuitive knowing that it's okay. It's not that something is wrong with you. The bottom line is that it's not that something is wrong with you or not good enough about you or not worthy about you or that is not pure or not love and light consciousness about you when others don't get you. It's literally, it could be a multiple of all different reasons, but the bottom line is that you are whole. Even when others don't understand you, you are whole, you are good, you are pure. You came here with powerful intentions. You are destined to become all that you're created to be. And, that experience is just a process in the unfoldment of that. So that's it for now. I'm Athena Lucene, and I came to this planetary construct as a galactic beacon of expanded love and light consciousness, here to support you on your evolutionary journey, divine evolution back to universal oneness and universal love. It's my absolute joy to support you on your journey as you discover more and more about your abilities and the uniqueness of them and how it can be applied and integrated in your daily life through spirituality and spiritual growth. For more helpful tips, go to athenalucene.com and select the topic that resonates with you the most and receive a free video training on that life challenge of a spiritually gifted individual. I also look forward to receiving and responding to your comments. If there are persons out there that you may know of that you think will benefit from this podcast, please feel free to forward it. Again, it's my absolute joy to support you. And that's it for now. Abundant blessings and blissful moments.